Hey everybody. I wanted to start making these live streams, and I'm going to do a better job promoting them in the future. I just kind of did this on a whim because I've never done the YouTube lives before, but I wanted to use this as an opportunity to answer any questions that you guys might have about how to grow and scale your business. I'm just going to be on here and I'm going to go through some of the models that we're doing right now to grow our agency. For anyone that hasn't been following me for a very long time, we basically built a company called Twiz.io. And that business over the last 5 years almost has hit, like last year, we did $1.7 million in revenue. I can show you guys what that looks like. And then the year, this year I'll probably do about $2 to $3 million in revenue. So definitely a lot of growth on that side. But I really wanted to break this down for you, how it's possible to do something like this. And, I might do this one for the record because, like I said, I did this on a whim. So I don't know how many people are even going to show up to this one. But I'm going to do a better job of promoting it going forward. So, anyways, I think the biggest thing when it comes to growing and scaling your agency is actually just focusing on developing a really good product. Because a lot of times the people I talk to that are growing agencies, they're not really building good products. They're just copying other agencies. And the problem with that is if you're just copying other agencies, it's just a race to the bottom. Like everyone is just doing the exact same thing. There's no differentiating factor and there's nothing unique enough to compel people to actually want to work with you. And so that is something that you really need to focus on when you're focusing on like building out lead gen funnels and things like that, or building out business models for your agency. You really need to consider, is this product that I'm actually building something that people will tell their friends about? One question that I asked my sales team recently was, is this product good enough right now that they would tell 10 of their friends about it? And if it's not, can you ask the customers what things would make the product better, right? And so in my mind, that's all that matters. And so the way to determine if something's a good product is simply to ask yourself, how much virality does this product have? Because think about the products that you've used that are good. You tell like 10 of your friends about it at least, right? You're telling everyone about it. And so if you have a really good product, that means it's naturally viral. That means that people are going to tell their friends about it. They're going to want to go and talk about it more often, and they're going to use the crap out of it. And so what you want to focus on first and foremost is actually having a measure of virality, objective measure of virality, and basing all your decisions on what increases the viral factor of that product. That's it. Everything else doesn't really matter because, obviously be ethical. Don't be a malicious agency owner. But if you at least have that, and you at least have a good measurement of what virality looks like, then everything else is easy because you do way less work than someone who doesn't have virality. And so for a long time, I was focused on just building really good systems, but I wasn't focused on building a good product. And those two things are different because you could have the best operational process in the world to deliver something to a client. But for whatever reason, if the client doesn't interact with the product well, or they don't see the value in the product, then it's not going to be inherently viral, which means you're going to lose a lot of that inherent growth that comes from actually growing and scaling things effectively. And so focus on building a good product. That's the first thing I would say. And if anyone's hopping in, feel free to comment below. I'm happy to answer any questions. But the idea is that if you've done that already and you built a really good product, the next thing you want to do is build a network of partners. And so I have hundreds of partners now over time. And the whole point of the software that I built was to accelerate the amount of partners that we even have, right? And by doing that, it's enabled us to also grow without having to put a lot of money into ads. What we did initially when we grew our agency was we had about 30% residual commission on any of the deals that somebody sent us. And that 30% residual commission, that made it so that it was so incentivizing for people to actually want to work with us that we made money without having to do any work because people would just send business to us. We'd close the deal. It was just shoo-in because the closing rate was like 30%, 40%. So you might lose some money because you're having the residual commission, but you make up for it so much, right? With the increase in sales. So let's say you have a really good product, and let's also say that you have a really good referral system, right? Let's say you have those two things ironed out. Then what you're going to want to do after that is start to invest in things that are extremely high. Sorry, my dog is barking in the background. Apologies for that. I'm traveling right now. But assuming that you have all those things ironed out, then you want to invest in high profit margin assets. So in agencies, the reason they have horrible valuations, and by horrible, I mean typically 1x revenue, which is not the worst kind of business model. There's definitely other ones that have worse margins and worse valuation multiples. But let's assume that you have those two things. Then what you're going to want to do is invest in things that have really high margins to counteract the loss of margin that you typically have from your agency. So it could be a course, it could be a software. We've done both, which has been phenomenal for growing our business. But you just need something. You need something that's good. And if you're not a software person, if you're not a technical person, then what you're going to want to do is start to invest in a course that you make your own course. It's a lot easier to do this nowadays than people realize. Like, people get really hung up on a course and they think that it's a lot of work and a lot of time, but really it's just documenting your thoughts. I mean, this, for instance, can go into a course, because people will probably watch it if they're trying to get to millions of dollars in revenue. They're probably going to find it valuable, So once you hit a certain level of expertise, which doesn't need to be hitting $1 million in revenue. It could be way earlier than that. It could be like how to make a course. You could literally make a course about how to make a course if you make a good course, right? So you could make it very simple. But really, it's just about consolidating in an organized way the things that you've learned. Think about it as if you're in school, right? And in school, you had all these projects you had to do. Imagine if you got paid for the projects you had to do in school, right? That's basically what this is. You're doing all this stuff anyways when you're learning to grow and scale your agency. By documenting it, you're saving someone else time. So you're basically doing an arbitrage on your time that was already spent. You're giving someone a shortcut to not have to spend the time that you spent in order to actually do what it is that you want to do within your agency and save them time so they don't have to do it themselves or learn those things themselves. So again, first off, build a really good product. Secondly, focus on having really strong referral systems. And then thirdly, just make sure that you invest in these high margin assets early on so you can grow and scale faster than your competition. If you do these three things, it will actually be a valuable use of your time to launch an agency, because most companies, most agencies, they don't actually make a lot of money, or they just don't know how to run it in a way where once they hit a certain point in revenue, they just stop making money altogether. Like, most agencies are profitable in the early days. I mean, almost entirely, because it's really hard to spend all the money you're making. You should be making excess cash flow from the stuff you're doing, because it's really just your time. You're just selling your time, right? So they're usually profitable in the early days. But then once they scale up, they don't have the right systems, or they don't have the right product, or they don't have the right virality to maintain that growth rate. And that's a big deal, right? You need to have those things in check if you want to actually be able to grow and scale. So anyways, this has been 8 minutes. I don't want to keep this thing going too long because I didn't really do the best job promoting it today, but I just did this on a whim. I really wanted to get the YouTube live a try. So here we are. But I'm going to send this to people. If you're interested, comment below. If you have any questions, I'm happy to help. And again, I'm here to help you guys hit $2 million run rate for your agency. It's a lot easier than you think. Takes time though. But if I had someone like myself helping me early on, I probably would have got there faster. So my whole hope is that I can be there to help you guys get there quicker. That's my goal, right? So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. I really appreciate all of you guys, for anyone who watches the recording later. And thank you so much for everyone who attended. I really appreciate it. Bye.